Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. This is a follow-up to an earlier video that I did entitled Who Killed Tyshawn Lee? Tyshawn Lee was a 9-year-old boy who was lured into an alley. Once he was in the alley, he was assassinated. He was shot multiple times. He was basically butchered by some animals, by some criminals, by some so-called gangsters. Apparently, they were trying to retaliate against Tyshawn's father, who apparently was a member of a rival gang. So recently, the police have charged Corey Morgan with first-degree murder. Corey Morgan is 27, and he has an extensive violent criminal history, according to the police. He's a convicted felon. Also, the police have another person in custody, and they are seeking to arrest Kevin Edwards as well for this crime. So that's 3 people who participated, allegedly, in the killing of Tyshawn Lee. I'm glad that these people have been identified, and I'm glad that 2 of them are in custody. And the police pointed out that community assistance made these arrests possible. Without the community's help, the killers would still be free today. So I just want to take time to commend the community for uniting and doing what was necessary and what was just to make sure that these criminals were brought to justice. See, there comes a point when the community has had enough. There comes a point when the community is no longer intimidated by these domestic terrorists, these damn gangsters. Enough is enough. I mean, these people participate in violence against their own people. These gangsters are a plague on our community. And it's about time that we stand up against them. That we not only stand up against the gangs, but also stand up against the conditions that create the gangs. Stand up against the economic system that deprives communities of opportunity, that deprives communities of decent education, decent schools. We have to stand up to those conditions that breed this crime. We have to stand up to an industry that allows guns to flood areas like Chicago. We have to stand up to a drug empire that floods our community with this poison that these gangs fight over and kill over. We have to stand up. We have to stand up against a culture that celebrates this kind of violence, a culture that celebrates gang lifestyles. We have to stand up to these people. We have to stand up to these industries. And, this is very important. All these people being murdered in cities like Chicago, in cities like Baltimore, cities like Detroit. Here in Baltimore, from what I understand, it's like over 300 people who have been killed this year. That's more people that have been killed in a long time. In prior years, the homicide rate was much lower. This is a disgrace. And obviously, I understand that the system is set up in such a way that it creates conditions that lead to crime. But at some point, we have to deal with these gangsters. We have to deal with these drug dealers that plague our community like some kind of curse. This senseless violence has to be condemned. It has to stop. We must stop the madness. And as my imam says, This is our community, and it has to be our responsibility to clean it up, to improve it, to deal with problems like these gangs. And again, I commend the members of the community in Chicago who did what was right. They gathered information about this crime and they reported it. They passed that information on. There's a difference between snitching and actually reporting on criminals that plague a community. It's one thing that if someone is participating in a crime and they know what they're doing, if they are a co-conspirator in a crime, then I can understand someone talking about no snitching. But when you butcher, when you kill, when you slaughter innocent 9-year-old children, we have a responsibility to report those types of crimes. We have a responsibility to report that insanity. So again, I salute the community. We need more communities to stand up and mobilize like they did in Chicago. Enough is enough.